Okay, so assumed similarity. As defined in the text, assumed similarity is thinking that people are basically similar. This denies cultural, racial, ethnic, socioeconomical, and many other valuable, insightful differences. So, assumed similarities, I think that has to do a lot with like I think prejudice and similarity tie in together, and they're very, they're very similar, and they have, as well. It's not even just assumed similarity. I think there's also it's all the definitions in here. There was stereotypes. I think that was the other one. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Stereotypes and you know, I think that's I've never, no, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's really impacted me that much with that. But other people, I'm sure, with like stereotypes have been assumed, like, oh, I'm gonna it's the first one that pops in my head, but like, oh, Asians are bad drivers, so I don't want you driving my car because you're Asian. I feel like I think that's a huge kind of assumed similarity, and that's kind of like I feel like that's how it would happen in the real world. And so moving on to the next one is the rites of initiation. So rites of initiation, as defined in the text, are rites of initiation marks the transition of a role or status of the individual within a group. So, like, let's say you are working at a fire department and you get promoted from lieutenant to captain, and you can, I mean, that's a transition of a role or status, because the further you go up the chain of command, the more responsibility you have and the different responsibilities you have. And that's same with everything. Um, Working at as a school, working on the school board, working in the police department, the military, graduating high school, you get your diploma, you can go out in the real world and find jobs and everything like that. So, rites of initiation is usually a big part in a person's life. Um, and that's something that I think is oftentimes celebrated, and it should be, because it's a huge deal. And so next we have the divergent cultural characteristics. So, like, for example, individualistic cultures, collectivist cultures. The other was explicit rule cultures and implicit rule cultures, if I'm not mistaken. I have it all right here. Um, yeah, implicit rule cultures. So, um, all these are. I can read. I'll read the text definition. Individualistic cultures value individual freedom and personal independence. And collectivist cultures is the opposite. You focus on familial or community relationships over individual needs. And it's the same thing for explicit rule and implicit rule cultures, because um, excuse me, they're the opposite of each other. Explicit rule, you know, is telling you, oh, you have to live by these rules, and implicit rules, like, um, you kind of it's kind of common sense. You don't kill someone because that's just not what you do. Um, and that's I feel like the society that we live in today is all of these cultures. It's I can't choose one or the other. Um, all of these cultures are completely, I mean, you can benefit from being an individual, or you can benefit from living with a family or something. It all depends. Um, I mean, you can do really, 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 really well on both routes, whether you choose to live by yourself or you choose to live with a group of people. And it's like I said, it's the same. We have rules that are clearly set, stated, like obviously like don't steal, there's other things like that, but um, and there's also ones that you just don't. I think we more live in a explicit rule culture, but I feel like there's some exceptions to that if we go into like depth. But yeah. So moving on to chapter 4, I believe. Yeah. How does the text the so okay so the text discusses self-talk. Um, well, this is more for internal communication. One big I like to read interpersonal communication because this is like the biggest. This is us talking to ourselves, and that can be defined as communication with oneself. Exactly, internal communication. And there's a quote on here that I wanted to read, and it says, communications expert Leonard, sorry, I'm going to butcher this, Shettlesky examines interpersonal communication through the 8 basic components of communication process: source, receiver, message, channel, feedback, environment, contact, and interface. I'm going to stop there. That's, you know, we communicate with ourselves the same way we communicate with other people in the world. Um, I can sit there and have a conversation. I mean, not exactly 100% the same, but it's the same idea. I can communicate with myself the same way I can communicate with a family member or a friend or anything like that. And it's, I find it kind of interesting how we communicate with ourselves often affects the outcome of our day, or I mean, it plays a huge role in our life. Negative self-talk can ruin you, and it's just so you gotta learn that's. I mean, you gotta learn to love yourself. And so some of the identities, I have all of them up here, and it's wanting me to choose a, the ones that play a stronger role in shaping our society. And honestly, I that's a really tough one for me because all of these are so important to gender identity, perfect self identity. I can choose one that plays a huge role for me because race, where I live, race isn't a problem for me. um, I think perfect self identity, where I come from, is a huge deal. Comparing myself to others, and I'm constantly going to the gym to work out to make myself look like other people, or like exactly how I want to look. And you will never be to that point. And I feel like that's playing the biggest role in my life right now. And there's really, like I said, it's all about learning to love yourself. Because perfect self identity is where I already said it. It's where you compare yourself and you want yourself here. I'll find the exact definition for it. It's down here a little way. Sorry, I didn't have this pulled up. I'm kind of wasting your guys' time right now, but hold on one sec. I want to give the perfect self-identity refers to the ideal person and associated characteristics within a specific culture. So, I mean, like I'm saying, I feel like that plays the biggest role in my life right now. Um, and I'm sure it does to other people. And yeah, that's pretty much it.